Hey everyone, today is October 31st, 2010. I'm Leon.
And I'm Lizel.
And you are listening to Aniview Weekly episode 29, the long-awaited Aniview Weekly episode 29. And today we're doing the Aniview Awards for 2009.
Alright, so to start us off, I'll explain a bit of our thinking of how we're doing this whole thing. So each of us have our own decisions of which we thought was the best anime in each different category. And we've sort of decided them without knowing each other's picks and whatnot, so it's pretty much unbiased what we thought was the best. Then we also did on our forums a viewer's choice section, and so you guys, the viewers, got to vote on your favorites with first nominations and then full-on picks, and so we have all those up too. So we're going to go through one by one with all of our different categories, which include genres, best opening songs, ending songs, different types of technical details, characters, and of course, a best series of the year. And so without further ado, we'll get right into it and talk about our best drama of 2009.
Okay, so I'm going to start. So, drama for me, in order to pick a best drama of the year, I'm looking for an anime that's going to really enthrall me. It's going to pull me right into the storyline, right from the get-go. Or maybe not necessarily from the get-go, but at least at some point, I'm hooked. I have to really feel for the sort of turmoil that the characters are going through and just get wrapped up in their world and what's actually happening. So for me, the series 2009 that did that for me the most was definitely Tokyo Magnitude 8.0. Like, just right from the beginning, from episode 1, there's this earthquake that's happening, there's chaos and disaster everywhere. These two kids are, stranded away from their parents, halfway across Tokyo, or Japan, I should say, and you're hooked with their journey and you want them to succeed, and all the stuff that happens to them is really, really well done. So I think it's definitely the best drama.
Yeah, definitely for me, the drama category is about having a level of melodrama where you're really into what the characters are doing, the world that they're in, their mishaps and the steps that they have to go through in their lives, while not being so melodramatic that you find it unbelievable, like non-realistic, but not so dull that it just feels gritty and boring to watch. And I completely agree with you that Tokyo Magnitude 8.0 is the series that did that for me for 2009. And so while me and Leon agree, it seems that the viewers had a little bit of a different opinion than us.
Okay, so the viewer's choice pick for best drama of 2009 was actually Clannad After Story. Now, I've actually seen Clannad After Story. You still have yet to watch it. I actually watched it during this whole sort of time that we've been away. And I could really see where the viewers are coming from, because for me personally, I thought the first half of After Story was kind of dull, but the second half is just, it really hits home, it tugs at your heartstrings almost the entire way. And after looking at it, I almost sort of thought, well, maybe this is a better choice, but I still think Tokyo Magnitude was the better drama of the series, but I could definitely see why the viewers picked After Story as their pick.
Yeah, I do think it's good to note that I haven't seen any of Clannad After Story, so unfortunately I don't have any opinion on this matter, and if it does deserve some of these category wins, I'm sorry, but I just haven't seen it, so obviously I'm not going to give it the win in these categories. So we'll move right along and start off with our category for Best Horror Series. Now, there wasn't too much selection in horror, so you wouldn't think that there'd be too much disparity, but people seem to have really differing opinions in this category. For myself, I picked a little bit of an obscure series and picked the series called Aoi Bunkaku, which is translated to Blue Literature. And this was actually a series of short series, I think 4 of them, and there were different sort of horrific stories written by Japanese horror writers. And I found them really endearing. Some of them were much better than others, but for the ones I really liked, it really did feel horrific or interesting or innovative in some way, and that's why it gets the win for me, because I really did feel something for these series.
Mm-hmm. For me, I did not actually pick Aoi Bunkaku. I liked the show, it's just that a lot of the only half of the stories I really actually cared about. The other ones, they didn't really seem sort of horrific to me. For me, horror needs to be something that's really sort of dark and gritty and really makes me want to, cringe at certain moments in this series. Now, I'll say that most of the series that fit the horror genre for 2009 weren't really all that horrific, but the one that really sort of hooked me the most was actually Umineko no Naku Koro ni, because there's all these, really gruesome, violent deaths that the sort of witch Beatrice, portrays for the cast of characters, and that really, it made me cringe occasionally, but more often after that, it just sort of had this sort of aura, I'll say, of horror. Like, you feel like this is a horror anime, like what's happening to the cast is quite horrific, and you're kind of fearful for them and who's going to survive that sort of time setting. So I definitely thought Umineko was probably, for me, the best horror of 2009.
Alright, and so the viewers also had a differing opinion than us. And now, I should mention, there is a sort of discrepancy here because we made a rule for ourselves that at least within the genres, we had to pick a different series for each genre. So while the series that the viewers thought is best horror of the year, we might have agreed with, we thought it fit better in other categories for us. And that series is Kara no Kyokai. This series has amazing levels of horror in it. We both admit this. However, we just feel it fit better in some other categories. And that's why it's possibly not our winner for this. Although even there, we also thought the series that we picked for horror were really horrific and possibly better. So.
I actually didn't think Kara no Kyokai was a good pick for horror.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, while it did have the sort of gruesome kills that Shiki could pull off with her, lines of death technique and whatnot, I just didn't really get the same sense of, fear and whatnot. It almost seemed more sort of mystery, because every movie there was, someone was brutally murdering people, or there's a story there, and you're sort of going through the motions, and it had a lot more sort of supernatural aspects to it. So for a horror, for to be considered a horror series, I feel it's a little bit off. It just didn't really sit in my sort of values of horror. So I think it's kind of odd that they picked Kara no Kyokai as a horror series.
Okay. I can see that, although Umineko doesn't really fit my... Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess there's a lot of kills in it, so... I don't know, it's a little bit hard to see, but I can see where they came from for this, for sure. Like, that there's weird, horrific moments in Kara no Kyokai.
Okay, so the next one on our list is the best action series of 2009. So action for me needs to have, well, obviously a lot of action. It needs to have really well orchestrated fight sequences that really get me excited and drawn right into what I'm viewing. And I'd say the best series that did that for me this year, or last year, was Soul Eater, for sure. Because just with its interesting animation style and the well-executed animation that Bones always brings to the table, you just got these really well-executed fight sequences that just made you, every time something was happening, you're just like, hell yeah, kick that bad guy's ass. And I love that feeling. That's what I look for in a sort of action series. And Soul Eater definitely pulled that off in 2009.
Yeah, for me, when I'm looking for an action series, I want to have, really good action sequences. That's the main focus of it. You want to just be excited while you're watching it, sort of thrilled by the whole sequences of movement and the animation to it. And Soul Eater, for me, was also the one that really executed it above all the others for that year, because they had the new animation style, and they did have the traditional shonen sort of going through a bunch of stuff. However, it did feel a bit different. It had its own flavor to its own feel, and there's a lot of psychological stuff, which I always love. So added that into the mix, and it easily makes my best action of the year. So what do the viewers think?
Well, the viewers actually agree with us. They also picked Soul Eater as their best action series of 2009. And as we can see from what we picked, we obviously agree with them. We think they must have been on the same sort of page as us and thinking that it was top-notch.
Yep, so all works out well. Alright, so our next category is the best sci-fi of 2009. And the best sci-fi, again, it's one of those genres where there isn't too much that's very much pure sci-fi, but we gave it some leniency, and still one of the purest sci-fis of the year really made it out on top. And for me, that was Eve no Jikan. This series was about androids in a cafe and sort of discovering if they could live as humans and sort of how much life they could have to them. And while it was a short sort of OVA type series, it really executed what it was trying to do really quickly and really well. The ending was a little bit off, but overall, I really enjoyed the whole feel the series gave, and it was quite different from anything else coming out at the same time, anime-wise.
Now, for me, I'm actually really not that big of a sci-fi fan. It's not really one of the genres that clicks with me, I guess. But just with the same reasons that Liza just said, I also chose Eve no Jikan as the best sci-fi series, because really it was, in my opinion, one of the only true sci-fi of 2009. There wasn't really many other series in 2009 that dealt with the topics that I sort of attribute to sci-fi, such as space exploration, androids, and whatnot. But I'm not saying that just because it's the only one that I felt was truly sci-fi that it automatically gets the win. It really is a really nice sort of groundbreaking miniseries OVA that makes you think. It makes you think about the topics it's trying to portray to you. And for that, it definitely deserves the win no matter what for me.
Yeah, and the viewers seem to agree with us. They also said that Eve no Jikan is the sci-fi series of 2009. So, I mean, if you're looking for a sci-fi series and you haven't picked up Eve no Jikan, it's probably the best bet for something that's come out lately, because it really is a quintessential sci-fi that just does what it's supposed to do and does it well.
Yep.